Hey, what's up guys? Radku here, back with another Yu-Gi-Oh video. And today is going to be a deck profile over my Nekroz Dogmatika deck. So this deck was super good in playtesting. Despite the fact that I did lose quite a bit, it was mostly against decks. For some reason I kept coming across mill burn decks, which I don't know why, but this deck can't counter mill burn very well. Despite the fact that I did win a few rounds, I ended up losing most matches because I only had a chance to play 2 matches, and both of them were mill burn. It was like the worst thing ever. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into the deck. Starting things off, I play 1 copy of Nekroz of Trishula. This card is good as a 1-of because it's searchable, and it provides a bit of protection for your monsters through a discard effect. Now, all the Nekroz monsters, or almost all the Nekroz ritual monsters, ignore the background, have the effect to discard it to gain an effect, or it has the effect to, has an effect when it's ritual summon / just a normal effect. So this card's effect is, when a card or effect is activated that targets a Nekroz monster you control, you can discard this card and negate the activation. So during playtesting, this actually did help. That effect did help a lot, because I was able to protect a unicorn that I had on the field, and I was able to lock my opponent out for a turn, or for a while before he finally outed my unicorn, because this kept his afterburner from doing its effect and destroying my unicorn. Then I played 2 copies of Valkyrius. Now, normally Nekroz decks wouldn't exactly play this, but I thought it was really good because you have Ash Dragon and yeah, you have Ash Dragon in this deck. That is a really good target for this card to send. Plus, the main reason I played it as Dogmatika Nekroz is because we have Kaleidoscope that can send to the graveyard from the extra deck to summon out your monsters. So I filled the deck with a bunch of monsters that actually have decent effects. So this card, really good. It's your main target if you want to use Ash Dragon. Then I played 3 copies of Nekroz of Bryonic, your basic searcher of the deck. Can search most of your monsters and except your Dogmatika cards. Plus, it has a decent effect where you can destroy cards summoned from the extra deck for basically, shuffle them into the deck, which is a really good effect because it's just some basic spot removal without having to jump through all the destruction hoops, which is really good, which I can't even think of a card that has an effect to when it's sent back to the deck other than like Madolche. Then I play 3 copies of Unicorn. Unicorn is actually super solid card, so you can discard it to add a Nekroz back to your hand, but that's not the main point of this card. The main point of it is to summon it, and then it negates all extra deck effects. So really what's good about this is that you can use Kaleidoscope to send a Herald of Arc Light to the grave. Then you can search off of Herald of Arc Light to add a you could add a Bryonic to the hand, or you could even add a Mirror or Cycle to the hand, which is really good. Then I play 3 copies of Colossus. Colossus is really good because it can search your ritual spells. Excuse me. So that is it for the ritual monsters. For the Dogmatika engine, I play 1 copy of Maximus, because Maximus is actually super broken in this deck. You summon 1 Maximus, use its effect to send 2 Herald of Arc Light to the grave. Since Arc Light is not a once per turn, you can search out a Kaleidoscope, and you can search out a, let's say you search out a Valkyrius, then you activate Kaleidoscope, send Ash Dragon to the grave to set up the Kaleidoscope, then you end phase effect of Ash Dragon, special summon back, or special summon from the deck 1 Ecclesia, then you can use Ecclesia's effect add one Dogmatika card, so you can add a Dogmatika punishment and then set it up next turn, which is some decent disruption, all things considered. Plus, you have some decent effects with plays later on, and that was just a basic combo for this deck. This deck can go a lot farther, and that was just a one-card combo with Maximus. Then I play one copy of Fleur de Lis. This card's good as a target if you've already gone through your Maximus. You could run another copy of Maximus in place of Fleur de Lis. But I kind of liked them both at one because they're searchable with Ecclesia. Plus, this is really just an engine in the deck, and I don't want to overcrowd it with Dogmatika cards. But you could run, cut out Fleur de Lis and just run 2 copies of Maximus. So Fleur de Lis is basically the attacker of the deck. It's where you put out your big damage from your Dogmatika engine. And then I play 3 copies of Ecclesia, searches your punishment, as well as sets up some decent attack. You can also search your Maximus, and it's basically a free special summon since this deck can send to the graveyard so easily. Then for the Nekroz main deck monsters, I only play a few. 3 copies of Strategist. This card is basically one card goes into any of your Nekroz monsters. It literally goes into any of your Nekroz if you have the spell, which is really powerful, and the ability to go into a Trishula with 1 card or even a Valkyrius with 1 card is really, really good. Then I play 2 copies of Priestess. Priestess is okay, but I play it at 2 copies because it's the best searcher in the deck. And it can help further your plays because it can change its level. So you can summon out your other monsters, despite the fact that you don't usually summon out your ritual monsters using main deck cards. Strategist and Priestess are the best cards to use in terms of being able to ritual summon just normally. 1 copy of Reinforcement. Reinforcement is decent to search out Colossus. Plus, you have Reinforcement, which can just search out your Strategist if you need to. Plus, Colossus is basically can start off your plays by searching your Kaleidoscope, and being able to just use this to increase the number of Colossus in the deck is really good. Then I played 3 copies of Extrav. The big thing that I came across when I was initially playtesting this deck was the fact that it had a few consistency issues. So playing Extrav and Desires really helps block up those issues. Extrav is good because even though you don't need the extra deck is a huge resource in this deck. So it's mainly just a resource to add on. So activating 1 pot of Extrav just to get 6 out and draw 2 can basically seal the deal, and you can get rid of the rest of them with Desires, which actually helps patch 2 holes in the deck, which is really, really good. Plus, both of these are instant gratification cards. That's what I call them. You could run cards like a Jar of Avarice, which can return specific cards. And since I play a lot of spell cards in the deck as well as monsters, being able to return to the deck is powerful. But I decided not to, just for the sake of making the deck better and more combo-centric. I play 3 copies of Nadir Servant. Can search out all your Dogmatika cards. Plus, it can send your monsters to the graveyard. Frankly, your main target for this is your Ecclesia. But you could then you could send one of these. Literally, you could send any of them because it just has to have less attack. So really, the only one you can't send is Herald of Arclight. And I actually did kind of like this in playtesting because it could really help get my plays started as well, because you have a lot of starters in this deck that not 1 card but have a bunch of plays that can work together with each other. I played 3 copies of Kaleidoscope. This is your main spell to ritual summon, because you can get rid of an Ash Dragon to go into almost any of your monsters. Plus, that's not the only one you can get rid of. And even if you don't get rid of your extra deck with Kaleidoscope, you can still get rid of it with your Dogmatika cards, and then easily go into your plays from there. One copy of Cycle and one copy of Mirror. This might seem weird that I'm playing Cycle at all, but I actually like Cycle better than Mirror because Mirror limits you to only using Nekroz monsters, while this one you can use any monster as the material. So if you brick with having too many Dogmatika cards, which is highly unlikely in this deck, but even if you do, I played around that with having one copy of Cycle and one copy of Mirror. Even if you hard draw into your Mirror, you can search out your Cycle pretty easily. This card basically just uses it from the graveyard. This card uses it only from the hand, which is fine. I kind of wish there was one that used it from the deck, but that'd be too OP. But yeah, this is definitely really good. Just play these at one copy each. You might want to bump up Mirror to 2 and cut out Cycle, but I kind of like Cycle just as a generic spell. Plus, you could come across some issues if you play too many of the same card, but really they're not very glaring issues. 2 copies of Dogmatika Punishment, because this card is your main disruption when it comes to Dogmatika cards. Plus you can set up some decent plays by sending cards like Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate, which might seem weird, but I'll explain it in a second. Then I played 2 copies of Imperm to round off the deck. Some generic disruption with hand traps is really good. And this deck was so crammed that I couldn't really play any other hand traps. But Imperm is definitely one of the best hand traps you can play next to, like, maybe Gamma. But even then, Gamma is you can't play Gamma with only 2 copies. So that is it for the main deck. The main deck is very solid. You have a really powerful Dogmatika engine that helps boost your plays with the Nekroz, because Nekroz sends to the graveyard. But going into the extra deck, I'll explain some of my choices. 2 copies of Ash Dragon. Ash Dragons, I'm just going to go over their graveyard effects in this list because, frankly, you don't summon any of your cards out from your extra deck, which is kind of funny, but yeah. During the end phase, if this card was sent to the graveyard, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add to your hand or special summon one Fallen of Elbaz or Dogmatika monster from your deck to your hand. So then it's a hard once per turn, which is fine. So basically main target for all your sends, and it doesn't have to specify it has to be from a Dogmatika effect. So just being able to fuel your effects continuously is really powerful. And then I play 3 copies of Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. Its effect is you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one monster on the field, destroy it. So just some spot removal is really good, especially since it's graveyard effects. I play 2 copies of Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Now this might seem weird, but really it's just extra fodder and it's Dogmatika fodder, and I'll explain why. So its effect is during either player's turn, when this card is in the graveyard that targets a Blue Eyes monster you control, you can banish this card from the graveyard, negate the activation. And I just realized that I read the effect wrong when I first made the deck, so never mind, not very good, but it was the only other one that I could find that actually had an effect, so it's okay. You can play it, you could not, but basically it's just fodder for your monsters or slash extrav. So yeah, 2 copies of Lunalight Saber Dancer. This card is actually decent. So if you come up against a mirror match against Dogmatika, because you're never going to come up against another Nekroz Dogmatika deck, you can actually use send Cyber Dragon Nova off of your opponent's Maximus, and then summon out this, and then you can use Lunalight Saber Dancer's effect in the graveyard. because if it's sent, you can target one fusion monster you control. It gains 3,000 attack until the end of the turn, which means that you can put this card up to 7,000 attack. Plus, it can make a second attack during each battle phase. And even though it can't attack your opponent directly, but I'll explain that later. 3 copies of Herald of Arc Light. Since it's not a once per turn, if you send this card off of Maximus, you can search a ritual spell and a ritual monster, which makes Maximus a 1-card starter, which is really, really good. Being able to go into like a Unicorn and lock out your opponent, or even go into like a Brionic, or even just add a Brionic to your hand to search a different one, and then use Brionic in the grave as material. Then I play 1 copy of Cyframe Lord Omega. Being able to renew cards that are banished is okay. Plus, returning to the deck is fine. I mean, it's not the greatest effect, but it's still pretty good. You could bring back your Ash Dragon to use that effect over and over again, which is actually pretty good. One of your main reasons that you're playing it is just to renew your sent monsters. I play 1 copy of Cyber Dragon Nova in case of mirror match. You can, if this card is sent in your possession to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, special summon 1 machine fusion monster from your extra deck. And I really didn't care which machine one I put, so I put this one in, Bararoid, the ultimate battle machine. So it has a mouthful of text, and it's hard to summon normally, but let me read its effect. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase. This card cannot attack your opponent directly, which is fine. After damage calculation, if this card attacked an opponent's monster, negate the effects of that monster, including in the graveyard. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, inflict 1,000 points of damage to your opponent. So even though it does only have battle-related effects, you have to remember that you're sending Cyber Dragon Nova off of your opponent's effects. So you're really only sending it off of Maximus. So these 2 cards are extra fodder, or they're fodder for your opponent to specifically send this and this, which makes your monster a 7,000 attack beatstick that can negate effects, inflict burn damage, and make 2 attacks. So just think about that. That's pretty OP. But really I just play this in here because I wanted to. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the deck. The deck is super consistent and surprisingly good. It has a lot of searchers in the deck, and their Maximus is basically a 1-card starter. So yeah, please like, subscribe, share, comment, let me know what you thought, and let me know if there's anything you would change about this deck. Yeah, that's pretty much it, and I will see you in the next Yu-Gi-Oh video. Peace, guys.